The existence of absolute values is undeniable. For example, for the person who denies all values, values their right to deny them. In other words, even those who deny all values nevertheless value their right to make that denial. So by denying all absolute values, they deny their right to make that denial.
Do you ever notice that people make excuses for immoral behavior? I steal food because if I didn't, I would starve to death. But I still make the excuse. Everybody makes excuses, whether publicly or privately, when they exercise immoral behavior, however you regard it. You don't make excuses unless you break laws. So how do we know what laws we're breaking?
The problem with cultural relativism is that it's self-refuting. Even the supporter of relativism maintains that there are no objective or universal moral norms. And for that reason, everyone ought to follow the moral norms of his or her culture. But the cultural relativist is making an absolute or universal claim of her culture. And if this moral norm is absolute and universal, then cultural relativism is false. And now let's think about it. If cultural relativism is true, then it's impossible in principle to have a true moral reformer who changes society's code. Because something is right only if, and only if, it is done within his or her culture's code. For example, every reformer that ever lived, like Moses, Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, was immoral by definition because they did not follow their society or culture's code. Any moral view which implies that is surely false. In cultural relativism, everybody has a universal moral obligation to follow the moral codes of their culture, which means that there is a universal moral obligation, and therefore is self-defeating, and if it's self-defeating, it's false. One of the main objections to an objective moral standard is that people dispute issues on morality. No, they don't. Oh, they might say they do, but deep down in their heart they know. Oh, I might steal something, but what happens when someone steals from me? You get morally outraged. We all expect others to appeal to a certain objective standard we're in regards to ourselves. You know the moral law best, not by their actions, but by their reactions.
If there is no objective moral standard, then you can't say that Martin Luther King was truly better than Adolf Hitler. Comparing people and actions would be just like comparing different foods. It's all a matter of opinion. Such a worldview is clearly unrealistic and unacceptable.
Being a moral relativist stinks. I mean, to be consistent with your moral relativism, you have to be open to people hurting you, stealing your cars, and cheating you. Hey, they're not doing anything wrong. In fact, what they are doing is no more wrong than leaving you alone. It would not be very fun to being a moral relativist, because moral relativism is based on people's opinions and not what is truly right and wrong. Moral relativism is a philosophical failure, and as moral relativism goes down, atheism goes down with it.